Welcome to the Trig Guide Part 4. This is a review problem just like yesterday's, except I added a couple more steps to it. So we're given an angle. Given an angle, this is 55 degrees right here, and this side, this adjacent side, is 3. So we're going to find side A, side C, and side B the quickest way we can, which is through trigonometry. So we got SOHCAHTOA. Sine, cosine, tangent. This is the adjacent side. Remember, you're trying to identify the given side, which is this one, and the side you're trying to find, which is this one. So this is the adjacent side. I'm going to delete all this, and this is the opposite side. So the one that has opposite and adjacent in it is the tangent. So we say tangent of an angle theta equals opposite over adjacent. So then we start filling in what we know. The tangent of 55 degrees equals little a over 3. That's opposite over adjacent, like that. Okay? So I ask you, yesterday we did problems where we had to divide. Do we have to multiply or divide on this problem? Multiply. So we'll do 3 times the tangent of 55 equals. And what did you come up with on that? 4.28. So we'll call it 4.3. So A is 4.3. Okay, so if this is 4.3 here, how do we get C? Well, we could do Pythagorean theorem, which would be a squared plus b squared equals c squared, or we can just use another trig function. Let's just do that. So this is now, the given side is still 3. The side we're trying to find is now the hypotenuse. Adjacent, hypotenuse. This is the cosine. So we're going to do cosine of an angle is adjacent over hypotenuse. So the cosine of 55 degrees equals the adjacent side. So what would my fraction look like? 3 over c, which is the hypotenuse. Adjacent over the hypotenuse, 3 over c. And on this problem, would I multiply or divide? I would divide, so I would do 3 divided by the cosine of 55 equals, and c would be what? 5.23, she says, so 5.2. So let's look at how all this plays out here. If this is 5.2 and this is 4.3 and this is 3, and this is a 55 degree angle, okay, so up here we'll call this 5.2. What would angle B be? It has to be 35, right? Because 35 and 55 add up to 90. So if you look at it, if an angle opens up, this is a much smaller angle than this one, so the side opposite it has to be a little bit smaller than the side opposite a bigger angle. Because if you think about how an angle works, right? If it opens up small, well then it has a small opposite side. If it opens up big, it has a big opposite side. See the length of that? It's directly proportional to the side of the angle. All right, now let's do a word problem in a different type of problem. Okay, here I have the ladder problem again, and it's standing on the ledge of this windowsill here or whatever, and it's a 20-foot ladder, and we got it 5 feet away. Okay, which is correct 4-to-1 ratio. So for every 4 feet of the ladder, you should have it 1 foot back. Let's figure out what this angle should be right here. Well, this is totally brand new, so watch closely. I have a triangle, and I'm going to, this time, identify the two given sides. So what side would that be? Opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse? The adjacent. That's adjacent this angle. And what would this be? That's right. Okay, now, what trig function would you use with adjacent and hypotenuse? The cosine. So we say the cosine of theta, we start with the formula, equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay? So we'll plug in what we know this time. Well, this time we don't know the angle, so we'll call that theta. but we do know the two sides. So the two sides are adjacent over hypotenuse. So it's going to be 5 over 20. 5 over 20. Okay. Now, how do you make your calculator find this angle? So in other words, what does theta equal? Well, the way you would do it is you want to first make sure your calculator is on degrees and not radians. A lot of times it'll get switched back to radians. But you're going to do the following keystroke guide here. You're going to do second cosine, 5 divided by 20 equals. So let's all do that. I'll pause it and we'll here. All right, so when we do this, you should get an angle. So we've just figured out that according to the 4-to-1 guide, the appropriate angle is 75.5 degrees. So this angle right here should be 75.5 degrees. And this is how you basically solve for any angle. You'll always be given two sides, and you can find this angle by going through this process. A lot of people think this is easier than the other part, and I would have to agree with them. It probably is, because you don't ever have to worry, do I multiply or do I divide? You just hit second and whatever trig function and divide this fraction top to bottom, and that's it. It'll tell you the angle. All right, have a good one.